For most people, the ancient world feels like a museum display. Bearded kings, clay tablets, statues of gods with animal heads, dusty leftovers from civilizations long gone. But inside those ruins is a truth we were never taught. A truth that doesn't fit the way we think about history. Before Wall Street, before taxes, before central banks, before the idea of an economy even existed, there were temples. And for nearly 2,000 years, the gods of Mesopotamia controlled the first real financial system in human history. Welcome to the financial timeline, where money, power, and history collide, and nothing is ever as simple as it looks. If you want to understand how our modern financial world came into existence, credit, wages, contracts, administration, you have to go back to ancient Mesopotamia, the land between the Tigris and Euphrates. Today it's Iraq, Kuwait, and parts of Syria. 5,000 years ago, it was the birthplace of a blueprint, the first economic architecture humans ever built. This system had a name, the temple economy. Today, we separate religion from finance. We pray in one place and bank in another. But in early cities like Uruk, Lagash, Ur, Babylon, and Nippur, there was no such separation. The temple wasn't a quiet shrine. It wasn't candles and whispers. It was the central bank, the landlord, the corporation, the tax office, the vault, the regulator, and the biggest employer, all fused into one. This wasn't a side feature of ancient life. This was ancient life. Picture Uruk, 3000 BC, a massive ziggurat towers above the city. At the top, the shrine. Everything below the engine of the economy. Scribes and priests walk through courtyards carrying clay tablets, tracking grain, livestock, labor, rations, and contracts. Warehouses overflow with barley, the currency of the day. Workshops hum with textile production. Farmers deliver caravans prepare for long-distance trade. This wasn't religion. This was the world's first organized financial system. The foundation of the temple economy was land. Legally, the land belonged to the gods, meaning priests managed it on their behalf. Farmers didn't own fields. They leased them. They paid rent in grain, livestock, or labor. It wasn't taxation, but it behaved exactly like taxation. The temple extracted a share of production and redistributed it to workers and officials. Temples employed thousands: farmers, shepherds, weavers, metalworkers, scribes, guards, priests, brewers, midwives. The list is endless. They were paid in standardized rations of grain, beer, and oil. Every transaction was recorded. Every measurement counted, and that's why writing evolved. Not for poetry, not for myths, but for accounting. Mesopotamian civilization wasn't built on epic stories. It was built on spreadsheets made of clay. People stored surplus grain and silver in temple warehouses because temples were secure, stable, and literate. From storage came lending. Farmers borrowed after crop failures. Merchants borrowed to finance expeditions. They paid interest to the gods. And divine pressure is a powerful enforcement mechanism. Clay tableaus, record quantities, deadlines, penalties, even early compound interest. The temple wasn't just praying. It was running a financial market. Temples introduced standard weights and measures because trade and accounting required consistency. Every grain offering, every loan, every ration measured the same way. This wasn't spirituality. This was administrative technology. By 2500 BCE, temples were financing irrigation systems, managing citywide labor, sponsoring international trade, and stabilizing communities during famine. They were early corporations, giant economic engines run by a priestly elite. But no system stays uncontested. As temple power grew, political leaders took notice. Kings needed legitimacy, and temples were where legitimacy lived. So the struggle began. Priests wanted autonomy. Kings wanted revenue. A fight over land, grain, silver, labor, the entire economic system. Around 2350 BCE, Sargon of Akkad changed the game. He conquered Sumerian cities, seized temple wealth, and centralized their economic system into his new empire. His formula was simple. Control the temples gives control. The economy. It worked. For a while, as inequality grew, kings discovered a powerful tool. The clean slate decree. A complete wiping of debts, interest, and obligations. Not a bailout for banks. A bailout for the people. Why? Because if farmers fell into debt slavery, the king lost soldiers and taxpayers. So he hit reset, not out of mercy, but survival. The financial playbook hasn't changed. Just the actors. Over centuries, temples continued running the economic infrastructure, labor, accounting, storage, while kings redirected surplus, controlled trade routes, and financed armies. This uneasy partnership created something new. The earliest form of the state, a state that collects, redistributes, regulates, measures, records, enforces, functions we still depend on today. But even this system had limits. Floods, droughts, invasions, and inequality constantly destabilized Mesopotamia. When debts ballooned, when temple elites hoarded wealth, when kings overreached, the system cracked. The pattern was always the same: concentration. Crisis, collapse, reset. Sound familiar? Look at our world. Central banks, bureaucracies, tax systems, legal codes, public works. These aren't modern inventions. They're upgrades of a 5,000-year-old operating system. Temple land, public land and infrastructure, temple lending, banking, temple rations, temple storage, national reserves, temple accounting, temple legitimacy gives political authority. The skeleton hasn't changed. Only the stories we tell about it. Economic power is never just economic. It's cultural, psychological, ideological. People trusted temples because they believed the gods were watching. People trust governments, currencies, and banks because we believe they work. Belief creates legitimacy, which stabilizes power. Remove the belief, abuse the power, or lose the administrative discipline, and the system collapses. Ancient Mesopotamia proved this again and again. Temples became states. Scribes became bureaucrats. Clay accounts became balance sheets. Ritual became legitimacy. Debt crises became a recurring feature of civilization. History doesn't repeat, but it keeps using the same financial script. If you understand it, you can navigate it. If you ignore it, it'll crush you. If this gave you a new perspective, subscribe. History has the answers, and I'll show you where to look.